How do I start this? Hi. Hi. My name's Annika Osterlund, and I have mental issues. That's a good way to start. That's a pretty good way to start, I say. I got out of the shower. My hair's wet, not greasy. Hopefully it'll dry over the course of this video, but we'll give it a little brush. Nice. I like how I just brushed the front, so I give the illusion like my hair has been brushed, but it really hasn't, and the back is really bad. Today I'm going to be doing a video that is unlike a lot of videos I've done. I filmed this the other day, but I wasn't doing my makeup in it, and I wasn't wearing makeup in it, and I looked like trash, and it was boring. So I'm going to be doing this again and doing my makeup in it. I'm going to be doing a mental health Q&A. I've never been a big Q&A person, but I love helping people. I'm just so charitable. I love helping the less fortunate. Anyway, I had people ask me questions. I had people ask me questions on Instagram. So we got a really good variety of questions. I can't answer a lot of them, of course. I'm not an expert on mental health. I don't know everything there is to know. I only know based off of my experience, which is pretty limited because I'm one person who has only lived 17 years. But I have been struggling with mental health for 7 of them. So I can do a whole video on my story if you want to. Like on my mental health story, not on my Instagram story. Nobody thought that. I don't know why I felt the need to clarify that. I can do a whole video on my mental health story if anybody's interested in that. But right now I want to help other people. There are a lot of questions. The mistake I made in the last one was that I was scrolling through the whole time, so it was so disorganized and I kept answering the same question but like different variations like 8 times. So I wrote them all down so that way I wouldn't be repeating anybody's questions. So anyway, a lot of questions about depression, some just general mental health questions, some about anxiety, some about self-harm, some about eating disorders, and 1 or 2 about ADHD. So there is a general trigger warning on this video, but I'm not going to be saying anything graphic, obviously. I'm not trying to trigger you, but if just hearing about eating disorders or self-harm or depression or anxiety or ADHD maybe, I don't know what your triggers are. If any of that may trigger you, then just be warned, but I will do my best. There's literally, I don't think that any of this will be harmful. This is supposed to help you and make you feel a little bit better, maybe. I got a few questions about bipolar disorder, but I will not be answering questions that I don't know the answer to. I already fucking said this. I don't know everything. So now that the 7-minute introduction is over, I just put on some moisturizer because I washed my face in the shower and I was feeling kind of crusty, you know what I mean? Without further ado, let's get started. I'm gonna do the transition. I did the transition. So I'm gonna start with just some general mental health questions, not about any mental illnesses, but just about mental health in general, because everybody has mental health. Everybody has mental health issues. Maybe not everybody has mental illness, but everybody needs to learn how to take care of their mental health just as they do their physical health. I know. I'm so wise. And I'm also gonna be doing my makeup. Hopefully I can do 2 things at once. I've not been taking my Adderall. Speaking of which, let's take our meds together. I'll give you a second to go get them. You got your drink? What are you drinking? Water? Orange juice? Milk? If you have milk, dump it out. Get something else. One of the questions I got is, what meds do I take? I take Wellbutrin and Prozac and Adderall. I don't take my Adderall. Probably should, evidently. But I'm just gonna be taking my Prozac today because I didn't take my meds for 3 months and then I just took them one day and I felt so sick and dizzy and nauseous. So I was looking it up and stuff. I think Wellbutrin has really bad side effects. I think I remember that when I first started going on it. So I'm starting with Prozac and then I'll do 1 Wellbutrin and then 2. So if you haven't taken them in a while, start small because I don't want you feeling sick. I drink my drink first because I'm a child. I also take vitamin D and iron. If you're a vegetarian or a vegan, make sure you take iron, very important, or if you have an iron deficiency. And vitamin D is very important in the winter if you have seasonal depression, and even if you don't have seasonal depression, you need your vitamin D, girl, so cheers. Delicious. I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of myself too. It's been 3 days since I've taken them, so we're getting better together. First question I got a bunch of times is how to juggle school and mental health. The biggest thing I think for juggling school and mental health, first off, is making sure you prioritize your mental health. And that is so cliche. I know, everybody says that, teachers say that, but then they don't actually mean it. They say that and then they get mad when you don't do a homework assignment. It's so stupid. I'm gonna do my eyebrows. I really need to make sure I do my makeup so I don't have to look like this for the whole video. I genuinely mean it. You have to prioritize your mental health. Because Because I was thinking about it the other day and I was like, why do we care so much about school? Maybe some people don't, but I personally have a lot of school anxiety. I force myself to get good grades. My parents don't even really care. It's all me. I'm putting all this pressure on myself. But why? Well, I'm putting pressure on myself because I want to get into a good college so I can get a good job that pays well and I can have a good life where I don't have to worry about money, okay? Worst case scenario, if you stop trying in school completely, you'd probably get all C's. You could probably get into a good college, like a decent college if you, I don't know, have extracurriculars or if you write a good essay. But say you write a bad essay, you have no extracurriculars, you go to community college, okay? You could still get a good job. You could still make a decent amount of money, a livable amount of money, and you could still have a good life. What's more realistic than you getting all C's and D's and having to go to community college and not make a lot of money is prioritize your mental health a little bit more. You start getting B's and C's, maybe a few A's, and you get into a pretty good college that's, you know, decently competitive. Maybe you have some time for some extracurriculars, you go to a good college, you get a good job, you make a lot of money, you live a happy life. So in all of these scenarios, you live a happy life. The truth is, you can't live a happy life if you kill yourself before you even get to college. A big part of juggling school with your mental health is realizing that school isn't the be-all end-all. Going to Harvard is not the be-all end-all. You could end up at a state school and still be very happy and very successful. I hate doing my makeup while talking. I'm 18 minutes into the video, I've got one eyebrow. God damn, I need to wear my retainer. You see, I got buck teeth. Anyway, eyebrow number 2. A lot of people are asking about therapy. I've known people that have had up to like 10 different therapists. They literally had to go to 10 different therapists before they found one that worked for them. I'm lucky I only had to go to 2. But my first one was so bad. It's not that I didn't like her, it's that she was actively just a fucking bitch. I don't know if it was because I was like extra defiant when I had her because I was in the middle of my eating disorder. I was in middle school, so it was like I was really angsty going through my 21 Pilots phase. So I don't know if it was just me like being a bitch to her and maybe I just have really bad memories of her. But I do remember I really wanted to be a model at that point and she told me no one wants a model with scars and I was like, fuck you, bitch. And I didn't go back to therapy for 3 more years after that experience. I was like, therapy doesn't help. I also knew that if I went to therapy then I was gonna have to recover and at that point I didn't want to recover, so I just avoided therapy altogether. Went to high school. I had some friends and there were a lot of issues because I was putting all my problems on them and they were like, listen, we can't be friends with you unless you get a therapist. So they dropped me. I got a therapist. They didn't become friends with me again, but at least I had a therapist and this therapist that I have is really, really good. I got the recommendation from my school guidance counselor. She really understands me. I'm really grateful that I go to therapy because everybody needs someone to talk to. I think that a common misconception, especially for people not in our generation, like Gen X and Boomers, they think that therapy is for crazy people, but really, even people with no mental illness at all should be going to therapy, especially Boomers, because I feel like they just have a lot of trauma. Everybody can benefit from therapy, and if you think that therapy doesn't help you, then you don't have the right therapist, because at its most basic level, therapy can just be like someone to rant to, and that's always helpful. Somebody asked, what do you do when you're having a bad mental health day? When I have a bad mental health day, I try and just do things that make me happy. I try not to think about other people because I don't have the bandwidth for that when I'm having bad mental health days. I already think about people so much. It can be really hard to remember to take care of yourself before you take care of other people. Okay, if I'm having, so listen, there are different kinds of bad mental health days, right? There's the depression bad mental health days and then there's the anxiety bad mental health days. If I'm having a bad anxiety day, then I like to clean my room because I have that motor, so I have the energy to do it, and after everything is done, I'll feel really calm and at peace. If it's a bad depression day, in bed. Sleep. Baths help sometimes too because sometimes it's hard to stand up in the shower, so running a bath is nice. At the end of the day, if it's a bad day, then it's a bad day and you can't do anything about it. So don't waste your time trying to fix it, just trust that it will pass because it always does. Another question I got is, how do you know when it's time to seek out help? This one is easy. It's time to seek out help when you have the thought, is it time to seek out help? You can seek out help whenever you want. You don't need to be balls deep in whatever you're suffering with to ask for help. In fact, it's better to ask for help before you get to an awful point. My contour is gonna be really patchy because my skin is really dry. I got a few questions about relationships. How has mental health affected your relationship? How does my boyfriend help me with my mental health? My boyfriend has actually been very supportive. I remember I was really scared to tell him about my eating disorder. I probably waited 2 months to tell him that I had an eating disorder when I was younger and that it still affects me. When I did, he was like, okay. What I didn't know until recently was that he had like looked up how to help me and how to support me. He's very helpful, and whenever he sees me body checking, he'll stop me, and he encourages me to eat, and you know, he helps me out of bed when I'm having a hard day, and when I am really anxious, he helps calm me down and does breathing exercises with me. So I'm very grateful for him. If you are the partner of somebody who has mental health issues, definitely be a support for them, because I'm telling you, there's no one else I would rather have support me. Like, it would suck if I had to go to somebody else besides the person I love the most and spend the most time with. I'm still in the general questions. Maybe I should move on. Now I'm gonna be moving on to the anxiety question. I'm a pro at anxiety. Probably the thing that I've been feeling for the longest. As far as anxiety falling asleep, I definitely think I feel the most anxious when I'm falling asleep, because like you're just stuck with your own thoughts. Something that my boyfriend actually taught me was meditation. And when I think of meditation, I think like sitting up, crisscross applesauce. No, like meditation is really just focusing on your breath and letting your mind empty, which is so helpful for anxiety, especially when you're falling asleep. I don't think I ever meditate except for when I'm trying to fall asleep, which is probably bad, but it's just too relaxing. A bitch cannot stay awake for her life. What my boyfriend likes to do is every time he gets a thought while he's trying to meditate, he imagines it like it's on a lily pad or on a boat and it's floating down a river. I basically do the same thing. Whenever I have a thought, I think to myself, I'm not thinking about my breathing right now. I need to bring it back to my breathing. It's very grounding and very helpful, and if you do it, if you lie flat on your back, you can probably fall asleep. It'll be very beneficial if you start doing that. Another thing that I like to do when I'm trying to fall asleep and I have anxiety is like focus on my toes and feel calm going up my toes, and then think about my feet and feel calm going up my feet, and then go through each body part and feel like that is getting like absorbed with calmness, if that makes any sense, as you go up from your toes all the way to your head, out to your fingers, and keep doing that while you're breathing. That can be really helpful and really grounding when you're trying to fall asleep. I got a lot of questions on how to distract yourself when you're feeling anxious. My answer for how to distract yourself when you're feeling anxious is different from how to distract yourself when you're having an anxiety attack, which I'll get to. When I'm feeling generally anxious, I like to meditate, even if that means I'll fall asleep. Sometimes I don't fall asleep. If you set a timer for 10 minutes, then you won't fall asleep. But when I go to bed, I don't set a timer. I just kind of let myself fall asleep because it's helpful. Sometimes I like to do yoga. Yoga is very helpful because it's also very breath-based. And then most of all, just watching TV usually helps me distract myself. Make sure that it's a comfort show. Like, for instance, I'm watching The Good Doctor again right now. That's definitely not something I love to watch if I'm having anxiety, because then I'll get anxious that I have cancer. That's a lot of blush. And I'm fine with it. And then when I'm having an anxiety attack, the easiest thing is crying. That's all I can say. When I'm having an anxiety attack, I just let myself cry. I let it out because it will end. That's the thing with anxiety and panic attacks. Panic attacks only last 20 minutes. Anxiety attacks can last longer because it's a buildup of anxiety, but usually you can cry, you let it out, and then it's fine. I always feel so much better after I cry. There's no shame in crying. Crying is not something that you should avoid at all, by any means. Crying is so good.
Oh my god, I look so bad right now, but I also forgot to say that when you're having an anxiety or a panic attack, it's good to like find somebody, like your mom, or like FaceTime somebody, because it's good to have somebody like ground you. It's good to just have somebody there that's like normal. And then after, make sure that you like do like self-care, skincare routine, or you could like take a bath or a shower or something, because anxiety and panic attacks like really fuck with your body, so it's important to take care of yourself after. Yes.
I got a bunch of questions about depression, so I'm going to try and go through those. I got a few about seasonal depression. How do you deal with seasonal depression? Vitamin D is the number one thing I can say. Take vitamin D. That is what you're missing. That's why you feel depressed, is because you're not getting sunlight, because it gets dark earlier and you're inside and it's cold and all that. So definitely take vitamin D pills. You don't have to get them prescribed. I'm pretty sure you can just get them at CVS or Target or Walmart or whatever you want. Should I do some eyeliner? Maybe I'll do like my alt girl eyeliner with eyeshadow. Okay, and then the second thing I would say for seasonal depression is get a sad light. They're like lights that give you vitamin D. I got a lot of questions about how do you get motivation to get out of bed and do the bare minimum. You're asking me, girl. It is definitely a struggle. I gotta sharpen my eyeliner pencil. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, wait, yeah, no, what was I saying? I remember what I was talking about. What was I saying? Oh yeah, something that has really helped me is watching those productivity people on TikTok. Those girls that get up and work out at 6 a.m. I mean, obviously I'm never gonna wake up earlier than 10 minutes before class, but seeing them be productive really makes me want to be productive in the afternoon after school. So I actually have recently been like picking up my room a little bit every day, doing some yoga, like even if it's like 5 minutes. And it actually feels really good. I think that just the easiest thing you can do is just think about how good it's gonna feel at the end. The second you get an ounce of energy, like even a little bit, get food. food. Food takes priority over shower, over brushing your teeth. I'd say food, drinking water, and going to the bathroom are the things you need to worry about right now. Don't turn into Rue from Euphoria. Didn't she get like a kidney infection because she didn't pee? Yeah, don't let that happen to you. The hospital is further away from your bed than the bathroom is. So I got a lot of people asking me what are like quick fixes for depressive episodes. How do I get out of a depressive episode fast? Like, girl, you think that if there was a way to get out of a depressive episode fast, people wouldn't be doing it? I'm a very big believer in medication. I think that if you can go on meds, you should do it. It's literally like glasses. Glasses don't change who you are. It's just bringing you up to the level that everybody else is at. Everybody else can see. So you get glasses so that you can see too. Ruthless. My style is a juvenile ran with a gang. Somebody said I'm too depressed to answer any texts and I don't know how to face my friend. I think that this is totally valid. It's very hard to keep up with people when you're feeling depressed and you don't have the energy to. But the least that you can do, if they really are your friends, they deserve an explanation. So I think just saying, hey guys, I'm really depressed. I don't really feel like texting or going out with anybody. I just want to let you know. That's all you can do, and I think that's good enough. If I got a text like that from my only friend, I'd be like, okay babe, let me know if there's anything I can do to help you, if they're good friends. Someone asked me if I still get suicidal thoughts, and the answer for right now is no. I haven't had a suicidal thought since freshman year. I've been doing pretty good recently. For the past few years, I haven't really thought about suicide. Self-harm, I have relapsed in self-harm in the past few years. I haven't self-harmed in a year. Woohoo! So that's good. But suicidal thoughts and self-harm are very different. I have not had suicidal thoughts in a really long time because, and this is a stupid answer, but it really is the truth, it's because I'm looking forward to my future. My eyeliner's uneven! Why didn't you tell me? I think that I have a lot of potential, and I think that I'm going to do good things, and I'm in love, and I see a future with my boyfriend. I want to travel the world, and I want to buy a house, and I want to have kids. Kind of, not really. I think I've also been dealing with a lot of existential dread recently, and I've been feeling like life isn't long enough, so I do not want to cut it short because I already feel like it's too short, and that's very stressful. And my eyeliner is uneven. I'm talking about suicidal thoughts and the fact that my eyeliner is uneven. So, ruthless. My style is a juvenile. Oh my god, this video has been like 40 minutes. How much? 38 minutes before class. Even? Good enough. My eyes are completely different shapes. I don't know why. I don't know how this happened. Normally, I'm much better at makeup, guys. Go watch my last video. It was much better. I don't want to talk about this. Now we're moving on to the eating disorder portion of the video. Fun stuff. First question, how do you know if you have one? This actually does have a more complicated answer than you would expect because a lot of people think that eating disorders are just like you think you're fat and so you start restricting. Restriction-based eating disorders, I don't like saying the A word. I don't know, I just have bad memories attached to it, so I don't like saying it, so I'll call it a restriction-based eating disorder. Not like bulimia or binge eating disorder. At its heart, it's really just restricting. You don't have to think you're fat to have a restriction-based eating disorder. Like, that is just something that is very common, but people who restrict for other reasons, people who restrict for any kind of reason, if it's restriction and it's obsessive and you're counting calories, then it's an eating disorder. But there are other kinds of eating disorders, and I think that's something, kind of bulimia that people don't talk about is, so, okay, bulimia at its heart is a binge purge eating disorder, so we think about binging and then throwing up, but there are other kinds of purging that aren't throwing up. There's taking laxatives, and there's also restricting, so the binge restrict cycle. If you're eating a lot and then not eating at all, then eating a lot, then not eating at all, that's a form of bulimia too. And people don't think about the laxatives one at all. Nobody talks about laxative one. And nobody talks about binge eating disorder. That's when people say eating disorders, nobody thinks about binge eating disorder, which is unfortunate because it affects a lot of people. I don't know very much about binge eating disorder, but I know it is just as valid an eating disorder as bulimia or restriction-based eating disorders. Somebody asked for the best advice for eating disorders, including binge eating disorder, and I think that what I'm about to say is true for any kind of eating disorder. It has nothing to do with your body. It feels like it does. And I think that people who suffer from binge eating disorder and have been through recovery for binge eating disorder probably know this better than people who have restriction and bulimia. It's not about your body at all. It feels like it is, doesn't it? Like, it feels like you're stressed about your body, so you're restricting, but that's not it at all. You're putting your stress from something else into your body. Camera ran out of space again. You're putting your stress from something that is vague and abstract into something that is concrete. And it does not feel like that. It's really weird to think about because you're like, no, that's not not right. Like, I'm not, yeah, maybe I'm stressed, but this feels like actually rooted in my body. Like, I'm fat and I don't want to be fat, and so I'm not eating or I'm purging. But that's what all eating disorders have in common. Apart from the fact that they are all disordered eating, they all come from a stress trigger. I think that is probably the most important to remember. It's not really advice, but it's something to remember, and it really does help, because especially when you're relapsing in your eating disorder, or you feel like you're about to start relapsing, it's important for you to understand that this is just a time of stress, and so I am using my body as an outlet, and I'm torturing my body for something that I can't control and something that I'm stressed about. Believe me, I'm guilty of this too. I've done this. I've been trapped in that cycle too, but it's just like any other addiction, like alcoholism. Somebody asked, well, do you think it's possible to completely recover from an eating disorder? I think that it is, in the same way that it's possible to completely recover from being an alcoholic. Once you're an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic, and you're gonna have to resist drinking every day. And when you get stressed, you're gonna want to take a drink. Just like when you're stressed, you're gonna want to fall back into your disordered eating habits. But it's important that you don't, because you're recovered and you've gotten over this hill. You don't want to go back up it again. You know what I mean? It's really hard, and I think it's even harder than battling drug addiction, in the sense that drug addiction is very concrete. It's either you do the drug or you don't. But with eating disorders, especially restriction-based ones and binge eating ones, it's hard to know when you're doing it and when you're not, you know? It's like, you skipped a meal, okay, maybe you didn't have time. Is it because you didn't have time, or did you know what you were doing? It's hard to know, right? So it's difficult, and you need to be really aware and keep checking in with yourself about it, because it's hard. And my eyeshadow looks so fucking bad. I didn't want eyeshadow on my lid. I don't know why I did that. Do I have makeup wipes? Fuck. Why did you guys let me just put eyeshadow on my lid when I didn't even want that? Somebody asked, how do I fix my relationship with food? This is a quote. I feel like everyone who's recovered is lying, and that everyone still counts calories and worries about food. Yeah, I mean, that's a completely valid thing to think about. And like I said, it's just like alcoholism. They're probably still thinking about it, but then you start to ignore those thoughts. And there have been points, I mean, right now I'm back in a place, because I'm really stressed, where I do worry about food and calories, if I'm being completely honest. But like I said, it's like alcoholism. I'm thinking about picking up the drink, but I haven't picked up the drink. I'm not doing that, even though I want to. But there have been points in my life where I didn't think about it at all. And it's happened. Every now and then I'll have a day where I don't even think about it. I don't even care. And it's really weird to have those days after, because I'll sit down and I'll eat, and I'm like, I didn't even think twice about eating that. And I don't care. I'm not gonna go check. I don't care. You do get to that point. That is completely possible. It's hard work. It's like the same thing. At a point in your alcoholism journey, I keep using that as an example because it's a very concrete example. At a certain point, you stop wanting to drink. Every now and then you'll be like, damn, I wish I could drink right now. But for the most part, you're not thinking about drinking as much as you were. It does go away because your brain rewires itself. And that is the beautiful thing about the brain. She's a little fucked up, but she has the right intention.
Sorry I keep doing so many of these interjections, but I did realize I forgot to answer like the main part of the question, which was how to fix your relationship with food. That is not an easy question to answer. That is not a question that has a cut and dry response. It takes years, it takes therapy, and it takes, again, rewiring your brain, making healthy connections and healthy associations, eating food that you like, and feeling happy because you ate food that you like. And while you're eating it, instead of thinking about what it's gonna do to your stomach or your legs or whatever, think about how it feels on your tongue, like how it feels good and how you're happy to be eating it. Slowly over time, thoughts like those can help rewire your brain and help fix the connections that you make with food. But it's not just that easy. I recommend going to therapy and talking about it with a therapist. I am not a registered therapist. I am 17 years old.
I got a few questions about self-harm and then a few questions about ADHD, and then we'll be done. If you've stuck through this whole time, you're a real one. Somebody asked me how I overcame self-harm, and this is a hard question. I really do want to answer these questions because self-harming was a big part of my life for a really long time, but at the same time, I don't know how I got over it. It was something that I grew out of, to be quite honest, and I'm not saying it's a phase, but it's something that I stopped feeling the need to do. I think because I chose other destructive coping mechanisms instead. I don't do these things anymore. But at the end of the day, I did self-harm a little bit through high school. The last time I self-harmed, like I said, was about a year ago, coincidentally, when I started dating my boyfriend. And I'm not attributing my cleanness to my boyfriend. If my boyfriend broke up with me suddenly, I wouldn't go and self-harm again because I got over that hump. Again, it's an addiction, and who knows, maybe I would go back to it. Right now, I don't really feel urges because I think about how upset and disappointed my boyfriend would be if he saw fresh cuts cuts on my body. So that is really what gets me through it. And somebody asked, what do you do when you get the urge to? I think about my boyfriend, I think about my mom and my dad and my friend. I think about how upset they would be and how it would break them. And I used to, I don't know why, I mean, maybe other people used to do this too in middle school. I would send pictures to people. I used to get off on other people being worried for me. But now I like being self-sufficient. I don't like people worrying about me, and so I don't want to give them a reason to worry. But at the same time, people can be like that and just hide their self-harm cuts, so that's not really a great reason. But for me, that's why I don't want to give anybody a reason to worry, so I try not to. And I have other things, you know, there are coping mechanisms. Self-harm used to make me feel good and it used to give me a release, but now I have other things. It's something actually that I did do when I was balls deep in my self-harm journey, is I would wait 5 minutes, and then after 5 minutes I would wait another 5 minutes, and then usually after 10 or 15 minutes I wouldn't want to self-harm anymore. You need to wait for the urge to go away. If you're truly dedicated to this, you need to wait until the urge goes away. It's the same, it's a compulsion. Just like body checking, just like many other OCD tendencies, it's compulsive. I'm not saying it is OCD, but it is compulsive. So it's hard to stop because it's compulsive, and people have a really hard time fighting OCD and treating OCD for the same reason, but it can be done. A lot and a lot and a lot of willpower. And then another person asked if I've relapsed on self-harm since I've stopped. I would say I officially stopped freshman year, and then I cut like 4 or 5 times since freshman year. So really good, no more than like twice per year, which is awesome. So I have relapsed. Relapse is an important part of recovery. My mascara is really dry, so I'm really trying to get it off the brush. That's why it's taking me so fucking long. Is it time to bust out the new one that I got for Christmas? I always get scared opening new. Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it, y'all. We're opening new mascara right now. I need way more bronzer. Thanks for telling me, guys. And my camera's on red. Last few questions are about ADHD. I'm sorry I waited until the very end. The number one thing I have to say about ADHD, I got a lot of questions how to manage it. The number one thing I can say for ADHD is that medication is the way to help. There are ways for you to manage it, but it's hard to be constantly managing it, and it's exhausting. Especially if you have ADHD and depression. It is exhausting to spend your whole day working so that you can calm yourself down. It exerts way more energy than you need to be exerting. That's why medication is very helpful, because it just does the work for you. And just like glasses, just like other kinds of medication, it just brings you up to the normal level that other people are at. Normal people don't feel exhausted paying attention. That's just the norm. Definitely recommend looking into medication for that. Be careful, because a lot of ADD medications are appetite suppressant. So just make sure that you're monitoring how you're eating, because ADHD medications can suppress your appetite, and that's not good. It'll make you even more tired and sick. If you cannot access ADHD medication, then coffee. Coffee is a natural stimulant. For most people, it energizes them. For people with ADHD, it actually calms you down. It may give you a placebo effect and make you feel like you have more energy, but it might actually make you feel like you have more energy because you're not wasting all your energy on paying attention. You know what I mean? You have a lot of extra energy to use. So coffee is really good. And also meditation can help. It can be really hard to sit down and meditate if you have ADHD, but when you do, it's actually very helpful because it allows you to slow yourself down, slow down your breath, slow down your heart rate, and just relax for a second, which can be really hard for people with ADHD because we have that motor going, which is very difficult. But at the end of the day, meditation and fidget cubes and poppets or whatever the fuck I see those little kids playing with, that's not gonna make it so that it's easier to read. I can't read without medication. Like, it's sad, but it's true because I get too distracted. But then when I take medication, I can read just fine and I can comprehend what I'm reading. But when I'm not medicated, I read the same thing over and over and over and over again and still don't know what it says. And a lot of people might be like, damn, you're dumb. No, I'm actually really intelligent. Having a high IQ means that you're more likely to have neurodivergence, like autism, Asperger's, ADHD. The higher your IQ is, the more likely you are to have these neurodivergent issues. But ADHD, autism, spectrum disorder are all in these little groups that are very common for people with high IQs. You can have a low IQ and still have ADHD and be autistic, so don't get all cocky. But I'm just saying, having ADHD and autism does not mean you're stupid. Actually, many people with autism and ADHD are very, very smart. Fuck what those teachers told you in 3rd grade when they were kicking you out of the classroom, telling you that you were being a disturbance. I finished my makeup right as I finished that. I look much better now, I think. My hair is still kind of wet, but I feel great. I have yoga in 15 minutes. This was a great video, and it made me really happy to answer some of your guys' questions. I got a lot of questions. I could easily do a part 2 and a part 3. Let me know if you want those in the comments, and let me know if you want to hear more about my mental health story. You probably don't. Thanks for watching. Sorry this wasn't a super funny video. I tried, but Follow me on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter. I've been using Twitter recently. Bye.